having some Mercury retrograde difficulties, and hopefully you will be able to hear Mel when she's talking. She's got on a microphone, but if you'll just bear with us and we'll do our best. There are also closed captioning if you need that as well. So good morning. It's Sunday. You're watching Astro Insights Live with the Roses. My name is Jennifer Rose, and my pretty spouse over there is Mel Rose, your astrologer. And today we're going to talk about the astrology for next week, the week ahead, which is a big week full of a lot of powerful movements in the skies, including a partial eclipse, which is destined to show us all something new, something we hadn't seen before. So Mel and I are going to discuss a little bit of that and talk about some current events. And yes, I'm just kind of talking to see if we get anybody in here. So Mel, if you want to go ahead and begin, let's go.
Yeah, okay. So, hello everybody. I'm Mel Rose. I am your Astrology Today regular current astrologer. And you can find me here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. to discuss the next couple days of astrology. Here we are, Jennifer and I, today to discuss the coming weekend astrology live for you. And also we'll add on a tarot reading at the end. So we'll be reading, we'll do a live tarot reading at the end of this astrology reading for the week. And before we get started on this current week, I just want to come back to last week and sort of remind us of the context that we are in coming into this week. Mercury and Venus, both retrograde in Aries, both heading back toward that Pisces to Aries cusp to go back over to Pisces for a little while. And yes, last week we had the Sun conjunct both Neptune and Venus. And that was sort of casting some light on some of our idealizations, and also sort of the things that we are reflecting on in terms of our relationships and our values. And then Venus to Pluto, which really indicates some sort of power moves or some ability to sort of see the powerful way forward. So I really like that. And then the other thing that happened last week was Sun went into Aries out of Pisces. That was the spring equinox. Here we are in the spring in the Northern Hemisphere, friends. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you're heading into the autumn right now. Happy seasonal change. I love the beginning of spring. So I'm really happy to be here with you all on this gorgeous spring day. And so getting into this week, we enter the week with the moon coming out of Capricorn and going into Aquarius. So it's sort of out of an ambitious vibe and into a vibe of allyship, which ambition and allyship, they work well together. You know, it's sort of we have this personal yearning. You know, the moon is more of our private feelings, but it's a private yearning for relationships that resonate with us on the level of our values. You know, we're seeking out contact and allyship with people who value the things that we value at this time. And on Monday, as the moon is moving into Aquarius, the sun makes a conjunction to Mercury. So that's always it's something that happens several times a year, because Mercury goes retrograde a few times a year, and it will crisscross back and forth across the sun from our perspective. And so it's backed up into the sun this time. This is a moment of clarity. It's a moment to sort of see with clarity what's going on in our conversations, our communications, our transportation, and the plans that we're making. And I paused for Jennifer to say something just as she was going to take a sip of her coffee. So
yes, unfortunately, I'm still having a lot of problems hearing you, and so I don't exactly hear what you're saying. So I'm really doing my best.
You're cutting in and out on me too. Yeah.
Anyway, yes, I felt all of those vibes last week. I'm still going back and forth, and I found myself last week trying to seek out community. I went back on TikTok for community and some in your face, reporting style, like the real news, like the information and I'm from Missouri, so I like to see things. So you got to show me some stuff for me to believe it when I look it up. And then I was looking for some local groups that might be progressive that we could, join in. And I found a couple of events that we, in the LGBTQIA plus community. There's like a Trans Day of Visibility or something happening next Friday, and we're going to attend that. So, like I started just making some plans and filling up our calendar with ways in which we can, be out in community and find our community, because we're kind of on our own right now. We're just kind of flailing about out into the abyss, just like, hey, and we're okay there. But we are still, just kind of searching for like-minded people and in ways in which we can uplift and support people who are doing the work and the work that we appreciate and that we would like to see in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, coming out of the Sun conjunct Mercury on Monday, we go into Tuesday. Venus and Mercury are doing kind of the same thing, at the same time. Venus is a little bit ahead of Mercury right now, but by being ahead, I mean that it's retrograde and it is behind Mercury. I don't know how to explain that, but basically, Venus is going to, just made that sextile to Pluto, is going to cross back over into Pisces and then conjunct Neptune. And now Mercury is doing the same thing. Tuesday, it does that sextile to Pluto. That's the power moves. That's the having our eyes opened, having some mental clarity on where the power is and how we can gather the power together to push forward, the things that we value, that are important to us. And then it will cross over back into Pisces, and then it will conjunct Neptune, which is more illusion. And to me, that feels like conspiracy theories. But right now, the focus is on power, where it is, how we gather it together, on the level of 99% of us living here in the United States. That the power is in numbers, the power is in collective. So especially with Pluto and Aquarius, the power is very much in collective ideas of what it takes to have uplift and support for everybody involved.
Yes. You said the word conspiracy theory. And so I wanted to bring something up that I woke up to in the news about this woman who used to be, I think, an assistant U.S. attorney, Jessica Aber, who was found dead in her house on Saturday. And that's a really interesting story. Unfortunately, I'm not happy, of course, that she's lost her life. So I'm not trying to be insensitive here, but she has played a major, major role in taking down some Russians. So yes, U.S. Attorney for Eastern District of Virginia. She four Russian military personnel had four Russian military personnel indicted for war crimes committed against a U.S. national living in Ukraine. The first of such charges that have ever been brought. So this is precedent, okay? And so, she was found dead Saturday morning by the Alexandria, Virginia police. She was only 43 years old. And she still has to go through some trials, and she quit her job 2 months into the Trump administration. And so my inner conspiracy theory is who's selling off information about where who lives to Russia, or Russian, anyone, how yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
There's a huge conspiracy there, like if you're gonna buy into Epstein and the Clintons and all that stuff, then and all of these things, then this is a whole other ballgame, which could be a very serious, honest, not a conspiracy thing that's happening right now. And it causes me to have a little bit of alarm about our information and our privacy and people knowing where we live and who we are, and so much down
Mm,
to like what our eye color is and what our weight is if they're looking at our driver's licenses. So, this is
yeah,
a big conspiracy that may not be a conspiracy at all, and something to look out for. Um, so anyway, since you said
definitely.
conspiracy, ding, ding, I thought I would chime
Conspiracy
in.
theory. Well, definitely we're looking at how power is being exercised, in apparent ways and in unapparent ways, because Pluto, our friend, likes to reveal things that have been hidden. So, I think it's going to be interesting to find out what really happened with that person for sure. But it seems like all the conspiracy theories are on the table right now.
Right?
And
I mean that this Jessica was she was at the helm of high-profile investigations into intelligence leaks, allegations of war crimes against Russian-linked individuals, and people suspected of providing sensitive U.S. technology to Moscow before she stepped down at the start of the year. Like, so she was really
yeah,
going hard against these people that are our enemies, just in case you've forgotten. And now she's no longer with us. And I personally don't think that's a coincidence. So
no, I
anyway,
don't think so either. All right, so moving on into Wednesday. On Wednesday morning, the moon moves, well, it's really in the afternoon, the moon moves on out of Aquarius into Pisces. Moon in Pisces is a time to sit back, relax, and reflect, really try to, emotionally and intuitively let some things go, see how things have all sort of come out in the wash, notice, just the various things going on for ourselves and it's a time for sort of like resting and assimilating what we have come to understand. And on that day, also, Mars repeats its square to Chiron. So this is the third time, and it's going to stay with us for a while. This is a long-standing square between Mars and Chiron, and it's been about like Mars wants to do something, and of course, in Cancer, it's not very effective. Mars wants to make progress. The part of us that is Mars wants to make progress, wants to take action, wants to do something definitively to get us to the next goal. And Chiron is about problem solving. So it's kind of like we want to solve a problem, but with that square in there, we're not really sure how. The challenge is to come up with a good solution. And maybe the challenge is not to take action before we know that we have a good solution. It's sort of, we might not know what it is that's going to solve the problem. And that's a little frustrating for us right now. I can feel that. I can feel that on a on a world level for sure. You know, a little bit also in my private life, but definitely, just in terms of what's going on in the world. Like there are all these problems that I have no idea what the solution is for them. I might be I might even be in opposition to some of the things that I see happening, but that doesn't mean that I know what necessarily the pro is for it. It's just like, I can see what's not working and I don't think that that's working. So it's sort of like we can see what's not working and we want to take action, but we're not quite sure what action to take yet. Any thoughts on that, Jennifer? I can't hear you at all. There's no sound coming through.
oh, okay.
Oh, hi.
I think I had my
I can hear you
speaker
now.
muted. That's last Sunday's shit coming back to haunt me.
Uh,
And if I'm honest, I also don't think
Mercury.
that we're live. We're really live right now. So
I don't think so either. No.
technical difficulties. Anyway, so what I was saying when I was muted is yes, there's been a lot of back and forth. Even for me personally, I've been struggling to figure out, even talking to my therapist about what is my part in this revolution. Like I have a whole lot to lend to what's happening, and like I want to know what my part is. And I know part of my part is about my consumption and about the things that I like, love, and can't get enough of. But I mean, there's something just deeper there that I think all of us are trying to figure out, all of us are trying to discover. And I think every single time we get a hint of any kind of news, whether it's from our friends or, globally, United States, our states, what have you, I think that we're all just kind of overwhelmed. And then we're just like, oh, okay, I want to act on that. That makes me mad. That makes me feel a certain way. Mars in Cancer. It makes me feel a certain way. I must act. But what we do is we're retreating because we're like, oh, well, I can't figure out where to act. And even, protests in the assembly of people are being shut down, shadow banned on, all of our Instagram and all that stuff. So, if we want to figure that out, we're going to have to get face to face. We're going to have to go out there physically and talk to people. Is what we've been preaching for the last few weeks. But every single time that I try to interact in community, like it's just signaling for me to get out there. And so it's just like this back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And so me personally, I'm waiting until after April 12th when some things start going forward and the planets and when things start looking a little bit better for us. And I think then I will know. I think something, as long as I'm open, as long as my spirit is open and I'm willing to catch that information, as long as I'm not, looking at things that really don't make a difference, that don't make sense, instead of being distracted, I need to really be tuned into me and what's going on. And I think that's for everybody. And on Wednesday, it's a really good day to manifest, because when is the eclipse? Is it Thursday or Friday?
The eclipse is on Saturday.
Oh, the eclipse is on Saturday.
Early Saturday. So late Friday night. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, like next week, especially on Wednesday, I think Wednesdays for some reason are really great days to manifest. So starting to manifest what it is that you want, during the solar eclipse. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later when we talk about the eclipse.
Okay. But what you said about that feeling of things being back and forth is very valid. We are experiencing all these shifts literally just across that 0-degree cusp of Aries, between Pisces and Aries, like things moving forward across that cusp, things moving backward across that cusp. It's happening all week. It's a big theme this week. So yeah, if it feels like a lot of false starts, or it feels like I have so much initiative, but I'm not sure what to do with it yet, this is really the kind of time to be sort of like being ready and being on the starting block, but trying not to make false starts. Or if you do, you make a false start, just forgive yourself, learn what you can from it, and be ready to start again when the timing is right. So coming into Thursday, we've got a moon in Pisces. It's just a sliver of a moon at that point. It is the waning, the crescent moon. It's the balsamic moon. And that is the day that Venus backs up into Pisces and then conjuncts Neptune. So Venus is retrograde. It's been retrograde in Aries. It's not a very comfortable fit, but it's made us a little bold, if not a little, maybe sometimes maybe a little irrational, maybe a little impulsive, right? The Venus in Aries is bold like that, but in retrograde, the irritability and the frustration can come out. So I really think that that's what we're focused on. And really, this Venus retrograde hasn't felt a lot like a romance in review Venus retrograde. It's really more like a values in review, or finances in review, how we're going to handle our money and our resources in review. And so, having that frustration come up with Venus and Aries. And then Venus moves back into Pisces, where it's exalted. So to me, Venus in retrograde in Pisces feels like an opportunity to heal, like something cool is being soothed over my burn, that kind of thing. And then it comes to meet with Neptune in the sky, though, and there's so much potential for sweetness and delight with that conjunction of Venus and Neptune. It's the lower benefic and the upper benefic. But I want to say that there's also a lot of potential for illusion. It's for self-illusion. It's idealizing that this thing that you're getting, that you thought you wanted, is going to be the perfect thing, and it might not be, because Venus is retrograde, and you might change your mind in a few weeks when Venus is no longer retrograde. So we can idealize things, we can romanticize things, we can really live in that sense of dreamy optimism if we want to, especially while we're trying to sort of heal, find some remedies for the conflicts we've found in our values lately. But don't. It's still not a time to really commit. It's still not a time to like give your heart to somebody, say yes to the dress, or anything like that. It's a time to enjoy the moment, but definitely hold out if you're thinking about making some kind of a commitment.
And so this is where I want to talk about how Venus retrograde in Aries backed up into Pisces. So I'm a Libra sun ruled by Venus and a Pisces moon ruled by Neptune. And so I get these dreamy ideas. So during this time, I plan vacations that I'll never be able to afford. Like, I'm like, yeah, we can get plane tickets and we'll go on these islands and we'll save back X amount of money each paycheck and we're going to be in the islands next year. And then I wake up and I'm like, what? You need to go to the eye doctor and you need to buy new shoes and new clothes and all these things prior to the, like, new to us.
Mhm.
So I want to say, also as a Venus and Virgo and someone who keeps the finances at home, I'm also an accounting kind of nerd. Like, this isn't the time to make big decisions about money. This isn't the time to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe from that new designer. Okay. So what I'm vacillating around against is like, so I want to buy these tickets for these shows that we definitely want to see. And, so these shows, whether we buy these tickets or not, will benefit, certain communities. Okay, these are community shows and musicians and artists, etc. And I think if I buy these tickets now, what's going to happen? Like, what could happen next week? Well, I need that $150 back. Like, I'm in a position where I get paid disability by the federal government, and I'm uncertain whether or not every single month now that Trump has been president, I'm uncertain if my check is going to hit my bank account. And so when I start thinking about all the things that I want that I don't necessarily need right now, those wants, some of those things are disappearing. They're too expensive for me to afford right now. And I'm getting a little, I get a little antsy when I can't have the things, like I get in a routine just like everybody else in a schedule. And if I eat my daily yogurt and I can't afford my daily yogurt anymore, then everything is just like, everything is into mass chaos. So, as far as our money is concerned, like we're boycotting Target and going to Costco now. It's cost people millions of dollars, and we'll figure out what that, where that is in April, where the protests have hit people in the belt. But right now it's about figuring out where we want to put our finances. Are we taking cash out of the bank and keeping it because we're worried about our bank accounts? Then now is not the time to make big switches in our 401ks, in our banking or anything. We just need to let everything just kind of simmer and then just,
Mhm.
earthen down Capricorn style at some point. It's just going to have to, land somewhere. And then that's when we make our move.
Yeah. And I think that's, I mean, it's really important to say that because Sun in Aries does give people a lot of motivation. It does want to make us want to take action. There's some frustration about not being able to take the kind of actions we'd like to or make the kind of progress that we'd like to. But, even allowing dinner to cook, as somebody else said this week, even allowing dinner to cook is an action, okay? Even allowing things to unfold, waiting, being patient, practicing those things, that's action as well. So don't make the mistake of thinking being in action means you have to be full throttle, full speed ahead on all of your goals at this time. Being in action just means, feeling that vibration in your body and your being that you want to make progress. Okay, so then your attention is on your progress, and you're even taking the small steps and the lateral steps that you have to make, Mars in Cancer, to get to the forward steps as well. Okay, so it's all action, it's all in fluctuation right now, and just don't kick yourself if you're not making the kind of progress at this time that you want to, because it's really a time to go slowly and reflect on what you're going to do before you do it. And then on Friday, the moon moves on into Aries. And on Saturday, we have that new moon in Aries with a partial solar eclipse early, early in the morning here in the States. I don't expect to see this solar eclipse because the sun won't be up for me yet. Uh, However, it's a partial solar eclipse. It's a mostly solar eclipse. It's not a total solar eclipse. So there will be some sunlight, peering out from behind the moon for those who can see it if you're over on the Eastern Hemisphere. But I just want to say that, eclipses bring changes. This is the second eclipse of our eclipse season here in the springtime. So it's been a couple of wild and woolly weeks in the news, in people's lives, just out there on the streets. Like Mercury retrograde has really been doing a number on people, the way they drive around town. I could say that. So, be I want to say, Aries, like a solar eclipse in Aries, the light goes out for a minute. And in Aries, we're very solar powered. Okay. So that can feel threatening. It can feel challenging. It can feel difficult to have the light go out for a moment, even if you're not there to see it. It's going out somewhere in the world. And when the light returns, it's almost as though you see a new way forward. You see a new way to make progress. So be open to those changes of heart and mind that might change your mind about the actions that you're taking and the progress that you want to make. And also on that day, Mercury makes its conjunction to Neptune. So there is this chance for illusion. There's this chance for getting confused, especially as you're conversing with people, as you're trying to collaborate. There can be confusions in the plans and the collaborations. There can be confusion in traffic. Give people plenty of room. Drive defensively. Take good care of yourselves. What do you think, Jennifer?
I think all of that. And I just, it's for some reason this morning, about the eclipse, I want to talk about, you know, setting some intentions and manifesting. So if you're in a confused state of mind, you don't know how to go forward, while we're in this dreamy state, it's kind of like looking for a new apartment. What I start doing is I think I want everything. I want a balcony and I want a pool and I want a fitness center and I want a garage for my car. And I start with all of those things and I see what that costs me. And then I get real.
Mm-hmm.
And then I start taking certain things off and then I find out what I can, like mediate with and get by with and
Mm-hmm.
so it's about figuring out, like just go and bust. Okay. So if you're really confused right now and you're in a dreamy state, just dream that dream for yourself if that's what you really want to manifest and push it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I suggest you
Yeah.
don't have to do anything, quote unquote woo woo or witchy in order to manifest. We manifest every single day when we just think about what are we doing today or what are we doing tomorrow or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that, right? But right now, manifesting during this
Yeah.
eclipse, uh, you know, even if you can get outside and sit somewhere and just close your eyes in the sunshine or in the shade or whatever makes you feel good and just really dream or think about what you want your life to look like, what you want to feel like on the inside, what you want your heart to feel like when you see these things, like really, really manifest that.
Mm-hmm.
And start making a little action toward it, even if it's just so far out there. If like if it's your dream that you wanted to be an actress, then like put that dream back into motion. If you haven't, if it keeps coming back and if that's the thing, you're like, oh, I wish I would have done that. It's never too late. Okay, so just sit
Mm-hmm.
quietly somewhere, and even if you're just
Mm-hmm.
brushing your teeth, looking in the mirror and telling your mirror, like, hey, this is what I want. This is what I want for my life. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to be, who I want to be, and just pushing it out there. And I suggest that if you have any windy day or night, this whole next week, but especially up to the eclipse on Saturday, if you have a windy day, sit outside and just mouth that, blow it into the wind, let it go. Envision it flying
Mm-hmm.
into the inbox, flying into the mailbox, flying into the mind of whoever it is that you want to see you, to value you, to,
Mm-hmm.
just to get you to wherever it is that you're manifesting or whatever you're doing. See
Mm-hmm.
it all the way through, but put that in the wind. Right now, the winds are blowing and pushing everything around. We might as well use that Mercury retrograde wind for our own purposes, right? And for the purpose of our community. Just think about also when you're sitting out there in that wind, what community, what
Mm-hmm.
you're putting out there in that community, and put something out there for that
Mm-hmm.
community too. So anyway, this is a great time to manifest. This is manifestation, I think that they said was like 14 years. Is it like a 14-year cycle of something that's
It's a
happening that,
14 or 15 year.
right? So whatever we're manifesting now, and whatever we take actions on now, we're going to have hopefully we'll all feel more of the rewards as opposed to the consequences, but we're going to see both. And it's just going to require us to now, with that Aries drive, we're going to push forward. And then with the information that we get from this partial eclipse, we've just got to keep being open and looking for the answers, and being careful about where we get those answers from still, because while our speech is going to be dreamy and manifestational, so is someone else's, and they may not have the same manifestation or dream that you have. It may not, so just be intentional with it for yourself. Sit out there in the wind, blow it in the wind, talk it in the wind, do whatever. But this is a really great time to just kind of wrap something up and start something new, Aries style. Just
Yeah. Well,
trailblazer.
especially now also with Mercury and Venus. By Saturday, both Mercury and Venus are both retrograde in Pisces. It is a time to think about what's unwinding. Retrograde is an unwinding, sort of what you want to undo or unravel before you make the progress that you want to make. So, there's a little bit of unwinding going while we're thinking about the progress that we want to make. That's what's good for this back and forth. That's what this back and forth is good for, is what I would say is, sort of like a step in the forward direction, then looking back to make sure that we are aligned with the purposes we have set for ourselves. And then coming up on Sunday, after that new moon, which is a reset in Aries, which is the beginning of the zodiac, right? So it's a big beginning point. Then Neptune crosses that barrier again into Aries. Like after Venus and Mercury have both backed up into Pisces and met with Neptune, now Neptune is crossing over into Aries. And it will back up later this year into Pisces again to give us a little reflection. But Neptune in Aries is the beginning of a whole 15-year cycle. It is a new way of being creative. It's a new way of approaching spirituality. There's a sort of spiritual warrior manifestation of Neptune in Aries, and an example of that is that John Brown did mischief at Harper's Ferry at the beginning of the Civil War as Neptune was entering Aries. So he was kind of a zealot, but he was a spiritual warrior, and he was on the side of freeing enslaved people in the United States, and he was willing to do whatever it took to get that result. So he died very early in the war, but he definitely helped to spark it off by his spiritual idealism and his inclination toward being a bit of a warrior in the world. And I'm not suggesting that anybody go out there and do John Brown kind of deeds, okay? Because he was a mass murderer, and he was a zealot. He was a hard person. But we do have this idealism, and our idealism can come to bear. We can bring it to bear in the world through our activism, through the actions that we take, and through the kind of, I wouldn't want to say, I don't like waging war, but the whole world appears to be at war at this time. So sort of like spiritually, how you would idealize idealize waging war to make things more peaceful for a lot of us, to bring uplift to everybody. What do you think about that, Jennifer?
I'm having complications hearing.
Yeah, me too.
So I hope
It's
people
okay.
can hear
It's okay.
this.
I'm just going to
really
move on
frustrating.
and do the preview for next week.
Do what? I really
I'm
can't
going to
hear.
go ahead and
Do the tarot
okay.
reading.
Well, I'm going to preview next week really quick, and then we'll do a tarot reading.
Okay.
So next week, with Neptune newly in Aries, with Mercury and Venus retrograde in Pisces, we are going to encounter this triangle on Friday that brings us a lot of initiative and change and power to get things done. And then at the end of the week, next week, Mercury retrograde ends. Okay, so it will go direct on Monday of next week. And that's really the whole week next week. There's not a whole lot going on. So these last 2 or 3 weeks, very, very active astrologically. The coming weeks, not as active. I hope that they've gone okay for you. We're definitely entering a new era, slowly but surely over the course of this year. Things are going from a more passive way of being, a more receptive way of being, to a more active and projective way of being. So if you're feeling that push and pull, you're not alone. We're all feeling it. And right now, I'm saying follow the path of least resistance, and let's think before we act. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and move on into our tarot card reading for this week. Are you ready,
Hey.
Jennifer?
Hey,
Okay. Hey.
I have an idea. Do you want to stop this here and then try to go live again with the tarot reading? Or
Yes, we can do that.
yeah, let's do that for a second. So just stop this live and we'll pick up the tarot reading.
Okay, you want me to start a new live?
Yeah, I'm just going to get out of this one and then I'm coming in there to talk to you.
Okay.